Hey, what is going on, guys? It's the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video to talk about a what-if scenario that is probably one of the more interesting what-if scenarios in Dragon Ball Z that could have possibly happened, but never did, of course. So I'm talking about the characters of Teen Gohan and Videl. And to be specific, yes, I am talking about Teen Gohan. As we all know, when Videl meets Adult Gohan, when technically he's actually a teenager, in high school, that is the first interaction these two have. Of course, at least Videl originally doesn't like Gohan, but then they end up getting acquainted to one another, as we all know. And they end up falling in love, and we all pretty much know the history. They got married, they end up having Pan and whatnot. But I'm not here to talk about the happy ending that they ended up having, but I'm here to talk about the what if that these two had actually met up early on. So there's been a lot of ways people have depicted, in fanfics and other type of medias on how these two could have met. But realistically, I would have definitely have liked to have seen these two have somehow had some interaction prior to them meeting each other in high school in some capacity. It would have been kind of cool because it would kind of make sense. We would be like, oh yeah, that person that we didn't know who that was. Oh, that person that we didn't know who that person was. Like, that was Videl all this time. You know what I mean? It's some type of thing like that, Gohan meets the girl that he ends up falling in love with in high school, but doesn't really know as a teenager, or I guess at the age of 11. Teen Gohan doesn't realize that that he met this girl years earlier in some capacity. Now, realistically, there is no realistic way it could have happened unless Akira Toriyama had thought of Videl prior to the Cell games. Obviously, we know Hercule was introduced into the series for the Cell games, but he had never mentioned he had a daughter during this time period. So, and since the anime that was being made in Japan was only around 3 months in production of where the manga was at. The manga was 3 months ahead of the anime, basically. There's probably a high probability that Akira Toriyama never thought of Videl yet, which is kind of unfortunate because it would have been kind of cool if, the anime had gotten a tip in time about Videl, because obviously we all know Dragon Ball Z has a lot of filler, right? It has a lot of filler. Some of the filler arcs are pretty good. Some of the filler throwaway episodes are really good, and a lot of people like them. Dragon Ball Z was very creative with some of the filler. I'm not talking about some of the, Pan powering up energy for a longer time and stuff like that, but I'm talking about, the interactions of, some of these, characters that were introduced for random episodes. A lot of people liked some of that stuff that they were doing. Not all, but there was a lot of good stuff in Dragon Ball Z that incorporated that. And one of the things they could have done, because especially with the Cell games, there was a lot of filler buildup that they did for the episodes for Dragon Ball Z, because obviously they had to, and obviously there was a 10-day wait before the Cell games officially started, and there definitely was a perfect opportunity to have Teen Gohan meet 11-year-old Videl because Gohan was 11, Videl was 11. Yes, they weren't actually teens, but we call Gohan Teen Gohan because, well, just because. He really should have been just called Big Kid Gohan, but I guess Big Kid Gohan would have been kind of sound stupid, and that's why they went with Teen Gohan. If we want to be politically correct on this, but just go with it. Anyways, so Teen Gohan, at the age of 11, against Videl, meet like I said, either in a filler throwaway thing, which could tie back to the anime later on, with them meeting each other in high school at the Buu Saga. It definitely could pan out. Now, there are a lot of scenarios and a lot of creative ways you could do this. Either A, they could meet each other right before the Cell Games and then not meet each other again until the high school, where Videl is infatuated with Gohan, or you can do the other scenario, like this, or you could do the other scenario where you could, which is the one I'm going to cover right now, you could do it where they meet each other right before the Cell Games in an event in itself. And well, we all know Videl did watch the Cell Games on television. They never show it in the anime, but I mean, it's pretty much obvious. Everyone was watching the Cell Games in Dragon Ball Z. All those characters were watching it. The scenario we would do here is the scenario where Videl meets Gohan. They're okay, but Videl is like, you're not better than my dad, or something like that, and they go away. Like, Videl leaves, and that's the end of it. And, she remembers him from the TV thing. She remembers her from the television set, but then that's the end of it. And Videl, once Hercule, her father, basically is like, I destroyed Cell, Videl pretty much just kind of forgets about Gohan, and never has any interest in him again until they meet up in high school, where pretty much everything goes the same for the most part as it did prior to that. He recognizes him. As a matter of fact, he thinks that she being the detective that she is during their high school time period, she is very, very detectivating on Gohan on whether or not he was at Cell Games, because obviously adult Gohan has aged and looks kind of a little different than he did when he was a kid. So she has her suspicions, but doesn't actually know who she is. She remembers from the event of right before the Cell Games, the time period I would have done it in is probably, and I'm not sure if this was a filler or not, but that part episode where Gohan helps out those people in the village, one of that small village, I think it was, where mercenary Tao had returned from the Red Ribbon Army. I think that would have been the perfect time to have introduced Videl. You could have had Videl come in there to try and help out, since she was, from what we know, is she was trained in martial arts. Or she could have been there on a visit, And because maybe the village had like some type of ties with Hercule in some way, and you could have done something with that, and and she was coming to kind of help without her father's permission, because her father was too busy training for the Cell game. Hercule was originally going to go help these people in the village, but because of the whole Cell game issue, he decided to stay home and prepare himself for the Cell games. And so then Videl decided to not listen to her father and go and try to help these people. And then that's when Gohan comes, and Gohan does his thing. Videl helps out, of course, but obviously Gohan does most of the work. And so that's kind of how their interaction would end. Videl does not get infatuated with him because he's like, my father could have done way better than you. And that's pretty much where they go their separate ways. And then you do the TV set with the Cell games, and that's pretty much all she remembers from Gohan. But then when they become high school, she's still the way she is to him, because she doesn't know that was Gohan. She doesn't know that was Gohan because she never asks for Gohan's name. That's another thing, is she never really asks for who he is. And she just kind of leaves after the whole, event ends. That's probably where the best scenario is, because, like I said, there's two scenarios on how you do it, and I would have done it because I wouldn't want to change Videl's storyline going into the Buu saga. I would, where they actually formally meet. I wouldn't want to do it where her personality changes. I like the whole dynamic of, originally not liking her or liking him, and then, end up falling in love with them to begin with, or to end that story, that storytelling. So I would do it in a way where Videl's personality doesn't change, where she still, thinks that she's inferior to Hercule, especially since she's younger right now. Obviously, Hercule is the only person, her father is the only person that she knows is that strong at that point. So she is under the, especially as a kid, she is under the belief of Hercule's tricks, of believing the tricks of what, anytime when people fly and all this stuff, it's all a trick, basically. So I could definitely see her not, even though Gohan saved the day from Mercenary Tao, I could see her not really thinking that it was a fluke and that it was somehow a trick. She never asks for his name, and she consistently thinks that he is a Golden Warrior, as she believed from watching the Cell games, and as how she believed when she seen the Golden Warrior in high school saving the day. So that's what I think Videl is thinking. Again, another scenario is where Videl does get infatuated with the Golden Warrior as a kid, by meeting it in person rather than just seeing it on the Cell games television set. But I don't really like that scenario as much, because it does change, the origins that we get when she is introduced properly. So I prefer this scenario better, and that's kind of how I would do it. Again, it's pretty much impossible, unfortunately, because I don't think Akira Toriyama intended originally for Hercule to have a daughter when Hercule was introduced. And because the anime when it was being done in Japan was 3 months only behind the manga, they probably didn't get a tip from Akira Toriyama that he was making Hercule a daughter. So unfortunately, they couldn't adapt a filler arc. Which, believe me, I think if they had known Hercule was having a daughter, if a Toei Animation had any thought that Akira Toriyama was having a daughter, I'm thinking they would have had those two interacted some type of filler throwaway arc or episode or mini, not an arc, but like, a mini episode or something like that where they could meet each other, but not meet each other in a way that would kind of hurt the story later on or contradict the story later on. I mean, we had characters like Marin be put in, which ended up being the name of Android 18 and Krillin's daughter, as a filler character for freaking Krillin's girlfriend before he ends up getting with 18. So I mean, I think if Toei Animation had any idea that there was going to be a daughter for Hercule, I have to feel like Toei would have done something for a filler arc or a mini, not for a filler arc, but for like an episode in between that 10-day wait time for the Cell games. That's just my take on it. Like I said, I just feel like that would kind of make the most logical sense, because I mean, these two meeting at the age of 11, I think would have been a really cool thing for the story, because they could have met each other once for a little bit, not really like introduce each other to what their names are, and then Videl watches it on television, like everyone else does, the Cell games, and then they don't meet each other again until the age of 17, where then they meet each other finally again in high school, and they properly get introduced, and then you have even much more of a better story, because these two had met each other. Videl had suspected something, but didn't really suspect it as much because she was an immature kid at this point, and she didn't really know any better of who Gohan was, and just took the word of her father, who was full of himself. And so then when she gets older, she realizes, oh my god, this person was the person I seen, and everything he did was truthful, and so I think this could have been such a much better story for these two, even more because honestly, Gohan and Videl had the best romantic pairing in Dragon Ball Z, in my opinion. Goku and Chi-Chi was not a really good ship, just asking to marry her, and Goku thinking it was food. Chi-Chi wasn't even really that much in Dragon Ball. She was kind of there for a little bit, here and there, and then was gone for a while, and then she came at the end, towards the end, and basically asked Goku to marry her, but Goku didn't realize what he had said when he was younger, and so then they just decided to get married. It was really a weird way to get married. Goku's my favorite character of all time, of course, but that doesn't mean the ship was good at all. Probably one of the worst ships out there in terms of development. It didn't make sense at all, still doesn't to me. But it's whatever, Goku's still the best character, just, I don't know. And then of course Bulma and Vegeta, another ship that I didn't think was that really good development at all. You know what I mean there? I mean, they literally met because, well, they met, but then it was just like, oh yeah, now we're together for some reason. Like, because he wanted to train in the gravity thing, and then that was it. Then they got married. Or they had a kid, and then they got married, I think, actually, is how it happened. So, yeah, Krillin in 18 was a much better one. That was a pretty good development one. But Videl and Gohan's was much better, I thought. 18 and Krillin was just like, 18 kiss, and then Krillin, loves her, and then, like, the wish, and then like somehow they get together after 18 rejects him at some point during the time skip, which is never explained. You know, Gohan and Videl, we actually got to see it on screen more of them getting together. So I still think that was the best one. Dragon Ball has never been really good with ships. They're a lot better now. I think with Dragon Ball Super, I thought they kind of did stuff better. But still, you know, never like a flagship. I mean, like with the thing with Trunk, with Future Trunks and like that was a much better development, and there was a reason for them to be together, and we kind of seen that. But with Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball, the ships were kind of just, you know, not really that good. And then again, Dragon Ball Z wasn't for shipping, it was more for fighting, so it's really a moot point. But when it came to shipping, it wasn't that really good. But that's not what it was supposed to be for, though. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, yeah, guys, that's my take on how I would kind of have a mini meet-up with Videl and Gohan without them realizing who they are. So then when they meet each other in high school, it's like, oh, yeah, that type of thing happens. And even Gohan's like, oh, crap, that could have been that kid. He could have remembered it and never wanted to admit it to Videl. Because Videl was kind of like a detective in the freaking Buu saga. Or martial arts tournament arc, I guess you would like to, if you guys want to break it up. Yeah, that's about it, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you guys would fit this type of scenario. Do you like the way I patterned it out? Is that the way you would have done it? Let me know. Tell me what you guys think. Comment, rate. If you like this video, my videos, please subscribe. Also, I do have a Discord link in the description to check to discuss stuff, as well as I do have my Patreon. And that is about it, guys. I am the SS Ultimate Goku. I'm out of here.